When it comes to Too Many Losing Heroines, sounds so wrong. It gives you that high school nostalgia in perhaps the best or worst way as it explores the burgeoning feelings of love. So, to summarize the season, while most of his classmates are pursuing their first love, when it comes to Nukumizu, he's pretty much sitting on the sidelines. In some ways, he prefers his life, for lacking any notable or serious drama allows him a certain level of peace. However, after witnessing the heartbreak of Anna, when she gets rejected by her childhood friend, he finds himself coerced to commit to the literature club, which he signed up for but has thus far avoided. And while part of the club, it taking part of activities, Nukumizu finds himself becoming aware and eventually involved in the stories of many of his peers who, unfortunately, are dealing with unrequited feelings. So, getting to the review portion, one of the first things we have to highlight is how this show acknowledges and brings an authentic feeling to the sort of overwhelming feelings that come with not just having a crush, but wanting to pursue it and really allow yourself to feel something that you assume is love. For when it comes to what you get, it very much kind of gives a feeling of Just Because, which is also an anime, or even Andy Mack, which was or kind of is on Disney, but because of a controversy with one of the cast members, some of the episodes may not be available, but the reasons for that is not something that is going to be covered here because we're not that kind of channel. But the point of the matter is, when it comes to Lemon, when it comes to Kamari, when it comes to Anna, it gives you a real sense of what it means to allow a crush to develop into something that feels akin to love and you want to pursue it. And yes, it doesn't necessarily always go the right way or the way that you want it to, but there's something about confessing your feelings. There's something about being close to this person, and in many ways, it may give you some of you butterflies, and others it may make you cringe, but it all feels very much authentic to the experience of being young, and between your hormones and other things, you feeling like these feelings are something that you can just suppress, but they have to be pursued in some form or another. So when it comes to the second highlight, it's definitely showing platonic relationships like we see Nukumizu have with most of the ladies, alongside the struggle of making a crush into a platonic friendship. And perhaps the one who struggles the most with turning a crush into a platonic friendship is Anna, because with her situation, her childhood crush isn't just some guy she would see at school, but their families were intermingled. And the young man, I believe his name is Hakamata, he's somebody who, especially in Anna's mind, kind of fit the bill of, childhood crush, high school sweetheart, person who is your first everything, and etc., etc. And yet, in a moment that starts the season, he pretty much crushes her dreams, and she has to watch him date somebody else. And the question of how you go from being ready to pour your feelings into someone, thinking that that investment's going to have huge returns, to now trying to love them in a way that isn't going to evolve into something romantic. It's not like a most serious and deep topic that the season pursues, but you can see, even when it comes to Lemon and her crush on this young man named Mitsuki, there's something there that has a sort of complication as it tries to go from having these feelings for someone and be close to them, yet learn how to regulate that so that this person and you yourself can not only move on in some ways, but also have it where you can still have this friendship which is jovial, maybe has some teasing in it, but you know that the line is not going to get crossed. For even when it comes to Nukumizu, who is probably the prime example of what a platonic relationship could be between teenagers of most of the cast age, what you see there is someone who is able to joke around when it comes to Kamari, and there are moments where you think, when it comes to Kamari, Lemon, or even Anna, that maybe there's something going on there. But at the same time, you also push to recognize that you can have banter with somebody. There could be chemistry, and maybe to the outside world, you look like you would make a good couple, but that doesn't mean it needs to happen. Sometimes just enjoying somebody's company doesn't mean it needs to evolve into something more. Sometimes it could exist just as it is and still be stimulating or wonderful to your life and well-being. So getting to the third highlight, I have to admit, even though we mostly been focusing on the main characters, that doesn't mean that the others involved don't also get you invested. When it comes to some of the administrative staff or teachers, they also present something as two of them who grew up together. One apparently has been stealing the other one's boyfriends for as long as they've been friends. Then you have it where Nukumizu's little sister, as she sees her brother starting to socialize and evolve in some ways, you can see her fears of potentially losing him, which makes for a very cute storyline that is not really focused on too heavily, but still can kind of get you in your feelings, especially because this sort of this push and pull where she wants her brother to make friends, to maybe get a girlfriend, but at the same time, she doesn't want to get left behind. And just the combination of everything we see is just so wonderful when it comes to supporting characters or even like small bit roles that it'll even get you invested in what they could potentially bring if this ever was to get a second season. Or I'll admit, I have yet to watch a show that really has really made me pressed to read the anime, even when it comes to Jobless Reincarnation, which is probably my favorite anime. I haven't gotten that far, but I gotta admit, in terms of shows we've watched, especially this year, I really hope that this one does somehow get a second season just because you want to see things progress. And the reason for that is, getting to the last highlight, when it comes to Nukumizu, you kind of want to be like his little sister and see him evolve. For Nukumizu has very much lived the life of the observer, and even though he kind of gets involved in terms of Lemon's heartbreak, Anna's to a point, and even Kamari's, you see there's always sort of like an arm's length distance between what they're going through and what he's going through, since he could potentially have a crush on any of them, but at the same time, he seems to have enough awareness that he knows it's bad timing considering what they're going through. And at this also, he doesn't necessarily know his own feelings enough to say that he does like or have a crush on someone. And just for a little back on Nukumizu, I wouldn't say like he's somebody that got bullied into isolation, but you can definitely see that in order to protect himself, he kind of starved himself of social opportunities. So with that, he's a little bit stunted. But there is signs that even with him being stunted, he still was a watcher. He still knows what his peers are going through, perhaps how to react. And with that in mind, you kind of want to see how he would go through someone perhaps confessing to him or him feeling compelled to confess to somebody and how that would play out. For when it comes to Too Many Losing Heroines, there's this sense that yes, there are a few comedic moments, even a few ichi moments if we're being perfectly honest, but there's still something about it that wants to really kind of explore and present something that's maybe relatable to people that are Nukumizu's age, and then for people my age who are very far from high school, the nostalgia and maybe even bits and pieces that, depending on what type of life you live, you can kind of pick up on things that can remind you of what progress you still need to make or even how far you've come. But with all that said, when it comes to Too Many Losing Heroines, the first season overall crafts a wonderful take on a genuine exploration of what it means to not only have your first serious crush, which could become your first love, but also what could become your first heartbreak. All the while, as you follow this person who seems to be very anxious, if not hesitant, about the topic of love, you see through him all too well the effects it could have, both in the positive sense and also the negative sense, with the acknowledgement that through the people that you bond with, it can make what can feel like a very terrible, dramatic thing have its natural high, but quickly come back down because you know beyond this rejection, you have people that love and value you beyond what exactly you think is your only valuable assets.